Let's get down to business.
Evan Daly, former student, jockey, successful online coach, traveling the world, doing your thing, back in. Nice to have you in. Obviously, we've two of us this time around. First time we're doing a podcast with two of us. JB, say hey you.
Hey you.
How are we getting on, lads? Thanks for being out, for having me in. Thanks very much, appreciate it, big time.
Getting on. How's
Good,
life?
all good. It's been a mad old year, I suppose. From only opening up my own business. You're talking probably 14 months ago. And a lot of things have changed from then. I suppose I opened up, I was in person at the very start, and from there I moved online. I suppose you're talking January. And yeah, never looked back since. Did a bit of travelling in America. That was in America. I suppose we went over in a J1. 2020 we were aiming to go over, but I suppose COVID hit and that kind of put the fire in the works, I suppose, you know what I mean? So we had to pull the plug on it then. And actually that was probably good that I pulled the plug on it. I suppose everything happens for a reason nearly, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, I was able to have the whole business online when I was in America, which I didn't think I was going to be come, let's say, the February before it. This has just gone by now, the February just gone by, and it was just everything was going well. So I said, I'm comfortable, I'm able to go. And I suppose that's when it was evident that I was able to close the gym, I suppose, and move everything online.
Deadly. We'll jump into all that. This legend that I have beside me, big hugs when you came in. Johnny was your tutor.
Johnny was my tutor. Taught me everything I know, so he did.
Right amount of 10 for me.
I know, Johnny was unreal now, in fairness to him. He brought the comedy side to it, but was very straight now as well at the same time, do you know what I mean? And just put the information across in a good way. So no, 10 out of 10 I must say to Johnny, in fairness to him.
I feel bad now. I thought you were going to ask me to rate Evan. I was going to say
He's
a lovely student, you know. 10 out of 10, solid.
He wasn't saying that for you.
No, I must say, like, back when I was doing the course, like, there was a bit of crack to it, but everything was you learnt your shit, like, that was the way it was. But there was still that bit of crack to it, that element of crack to it as well, and I suppose that bit of networking, I suppose, to an extent as well went on. And like, sure, I wouldn't have come back here realistically if I didn't find it good. Like, that's the reality of it, not hope. Like, and that's the reality of it, you know. So it's. That's the way it went, you know.
Yeah, you can only make time for crack, though, can't you? If the shit does get done, if it doesn't get done, then there's no time.
100%.
For crack, you know?
But even you realise that, or like, we noticed that big time. Like, if let's say the class was getting a bit wired, even at the time, I noticed that, like, it was just right. We need to seriously pull everything back a small bit, and it got a little bit more serious then at certain times, because it had to, like, you know, to get the information across. Because you are trying to make a career out of this. It is your starting point, you know what I mean? So you can't be just constantly messing around, like, and but there was still, you still were able to click with, let's say, yourself big time, do you know what I mean? I think that made a difference as well, just the actual learning aspect of it. And I think that's important. Like, you have to have a bit of a personality as well, do you know what I mean? And if not, you're just kind of like, it doesn't go in 100%, like, you know, that's the way I found it anyway, you know?
Yeah, and I think that comes from a bit of experience as well.
I do.
Do you know what I mean? It's trial and error, like.
That's the thing.
Like you said, I'm sure you can go on the other side and it's too much crack. There could be one person in the class that just isn't up for the crack, and you might know until after the course, and that person says, yeah, listen, it was okay course, but it was just messing the whole time. So you find that balance.
You've got to realise, people are paying for a product, aren't they? Yeah. They're not paying to go to a comedy show if we are a school.
That's exactly it. But that was the way it was just put across. It was free flowing. There was no act. It was just knew the shit, knew how to put it across in a good way, I suppose, you know what I mean? And just an awful lot of people clicked, and a lot of people got on well out of that class. If you think back, like, still in touch with a couple of lads. Well, I suppose not a massive amount of them. I suppose Steve there, coached by Steve, he is a good solid business for himself, and a good few Steve's friends then who maybe have done it. I think you were saying that the likes of Ian McNamara, he would have done it previously. I think the year previous to what you're saying, and like, he's a good solid business. Did a podcast with him recently, and he's going well as well. Do you know what I mean? So, but like, you see the testimonials and stuff. They're just solid people too, you know. And it's just important, I suppose, this day and age to have, or just with the way things are going, I suppose, as we were chatting about earlier, about, let's say, just the quality of personal trainer isn't amazing. Like, there's just so many people qualifying, but I was just saying to you, I couldn't fully resonate with that. When people do say that, let's say about your course, and that's just me being genuine about it as well. I learned the foundation, but as he said yourself, this is literally only the fucking beginning. Like, it all came from there then as well. You got your foundation, but you learned as you went along, as you got more experience. and you need experience.
That's why we concentrate so much as well. And I know it sounds like a sales pitch, but it's not a sales pitch. We're actually saying you're part of the family. We're with you for a journey, and there's always that phone to be able to pick up. And then obviously tutors have a certain amount of experience and life experience and fitness in the fitness industry for God knows the amount of years. So when you are kind of continuing your education as you move on from our own course, to be able to pick up the phone or come back in or go for coffee, that's crucial to us.
Exactly.
Massively.
But that speaks wonders for you though as well, you know what I mean? Because like, as I said, no one would come back if they felt there was any negative vibe out of it all, like, you know what I mean? And that's the reality of it. That is the reality of it, like, you know. So it's but as I said, it's a proper solid starting point, but it all happens from there. And like, it happens from there, getting experience, which even just simply communicating to people, like, because I suppose people come into the industry and think that they're going to work with their dream client in regards to maybe sport specific work and be it bodybuilding, whatever you're into, but that doesn't happen. Like, you need to, well, it might eventually, but sometimes people just don't want it. Like, I'm happy with the kind of clientele I have now, general population, people just in general jobs. There's no real niche as such, but it's just general population people. I love it, like, you know what I mean? But people have to accept that if you are wanting to go to the, I suppose, the higher tier, or not the higher tier, but the different sort of stuff outside general population, it takes time. It takes an awful lot of time if that's what you're into, you know.
So we'll rewind.
Of course,
Rewind back. So again, anybody who's listening or watching, so you done a course in Galway.
Yeah.
So end of 2019 sign up period. So
September.
Yeah. So you were in September 2019 in Galway.
So basically, right, I'll rewind back proper. I suppose I probably went into it a good bit there, but basically, at the very start, when I messaged, it was Aaron I messaged. I was still a jockey. I was working in Joe, so Ryan's at the time, and I was just thinking, I was after going through a few bad old injuries. I broke me back. Came back after about 8 weeks, did my collarbone straight away, came back again, and it was probably 2 weeks after I came back, I was just literally flicking through things. I was always into fitness, into nutrition, but just never had any understanding of it, even though I should have because of the job that I was in. But the reality of it, that it just wasn't put to jockeys enough. And I knew I struggled massively with nutrition and just with my overall weight at the time. When I said the overall weight, it wasn't that I wasn't heavy as
Weight
such.
for
Weight for the sport that is in, obviously, yeah. So from there, I just said, I was just one day, I remember driving down the hill in Pilltown in Kilkenny, and I was like, fuck this, like, I was soaking wet, and I was just miserable. My spine actually wasn't good at the time either. I have arthritis in it now, but basically, I was just miserable at the time. I was like, this isn't life, like, going forward. I was like, I can't keep doing this. So I just messaged him, and that was grand. He actually rang me then. I think, we had a phone call actually.
About 19?
Yeah, 2019. It would have been probably.
Oh, no, you were about 19.
Oh, I was like bang on 19 at the time, yeah. So that was probably August, I'd say, when I messaged him, and I started in September. I think it might have been maybe applications were closed at the time, or he said there's a couple of vacancies there, and so I got in anyway. That was the finest. Still didn't know that I wanted to make a career of it. I hadn't a bull's notion about anything to do with the dumbbell, a barbell. Never really picked it up. I did actually. The day I said I was finishing racing, I went over to the weight section, did a few curls, lad, because I was like a pencil, so I was like, there wasn't a big on me at the time. It was all treadmills, things like that. So started the course. Anyway, long story short, found it brilliant. Met a lot of people. And from there, I just I was going into the course not having any knowledge, but there was people in there who had a good bit of knowledge. Realistically, a few of the lads there, they were big fellas. They knew the crack. Like they had a good foundation where I genuinely hadn't got a clue, but I kind of got a grasp of it fairly snappy, I think. Anyway, and it's in fairness to the whole course, it was no matter what stage you're at. You're able to, you can 100% build up from there, you know what I mean? Like, no matter what level of knowledge you're at, you know what I mean? You can build up from there.
Sometimes, like, we speak about this all the time. It's the way you said, so you didn't have a certain level of knowledge, and then other people that were in your course might have had what you perceived as a heap load of knowledge.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Sometimes that's not a good thing. Sometimes people come in with a
wrong stuff,
preconceived notion of what a fitness course is going to be, whereas if you come on with what we say, the blank canvas approach, especially you from a tutor's point of view, you probably see people soak it up and are more open to learning when they feel like they mightn't know anything yet.
Yeah, you see it a couple of ways. You see people like yourself who come in with a bull's notion, as you put it. Sometimes they can then actually feel behind when we know the guys might be slightly ahead, but you're not behind. But the thing is because you got a blank canvas, you can just soak it up, and then you end up just you know, and going up a trajectory, you know, it's
Definitely.
different, yeah.
That's what I found. Like that, I actually found it was probably a benefit, because I suppose it's like anything, you can learn things the wrong way as well, I suppose, to an extent. You know what I mean? Like, obviously there's many ways to go about things, be it with training, nutrition. There's a whole different, you have to have a open mind about things. But I suppose he did explain that as well. Like, you know what I mean? You gave the foundations, and I was able to, I suppose, build from there. Whereas I suppose you have people that maybe are stuck in their ways a little bit to an extent, that might have got results themselves by a certain way, or a lot of people just, like, I suppose, having you have to have you can't just have a black and white approach, or you can't have just a blind approach to it, like, you know what I mean? You have to be able to take other views in.
We're the same, even from an education provider standpoint. We have to be like that. Like, we've got X amount of tutors who are well educated and have strong opinions. So even when we're having our own team meetings, we have to be like when we're talking about maybe the 2023 syllabus. Okay, well, what are we looking at? Research is showing that people are performing this exercise now this way for a certain reason. Are we going to introduce that? Are we going to put that on our exams? And we might have tutors with different opinions. So you have to be open.
Yes.
Open to it all, but once you're willing to be open, explain rationale behind all the different things, explain it to students then, and then on this particular term the examination will run this way on this particular exercise. Once you guys know what's coming up kind of exam wise, that's okay, but you have to be open to actually saying there is variations. You will see this, and it might open a tangent or go down a certain way, like, but we've got strong opinionated tutors all across the country, but we need that. You have to have that.
Definitely. Like, I suppose nowadays you see with social media especially is that, like, there's a lot of people saying this is the only way to do this is the only way to do that. Like, for example, like back in, I suppose, still like a little bit of I suppose maybe new knowledge that came out over the past few years, maybe, like, let's say even just biasing the fucking lat, you know what I mean, like elbow tight body. People are saying the actual lat pull down itself is completely useless, doesn't hit the lat. And I know I'm probably going off a little bit here, but it's just people used to say it doesn't hit the lat at all, waste of time. Like, not waste of time, it's a good exercise, maybe not be the most optimal for the lat itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But people just get this bit of information, like, oh, this is right, this is the only way. You have to have a wide approach, because it all, at the end of the day, it comes down to the individual client itself, like, doesn't it? It comes down to the individual. It's just so many factors take into play: lifestyle,
everyone's different,
the personality, everything. Do you know what I mean? Their biomechanics, everything, like, is different. Do you know what I mean? You have to have an open approach.
And actually doing the same movement pattern the whole time would be great anyway. So
That's
variation.
variation.
Listen, if a muscle like your lats, for example, has multiple anatomical actions, then it should be trained multiple ways, you know?
That's the thing. But as I said, like, it's just a lot of people are just set in one way, aren't they? But it's the same thing with nutrition. You need to have an open approach. For example, one thing I don't like a lot of the time is some people are like, you can't track calories. Other people are like, you have to track calories. It's a tool. There's certain things that are certain tools. You know what I mean? And you have to have an open approach to that. Like, and you can't just be it's not a one size fits all situation with all training and nutrition. You know what I mean? There are certain individuals who will benefit from it, from tracking. Other people might not. And it's just all about the way you portray things, I think, isn't it?
So it totally depends on where you are in your goal and your journey. I mean, if you're close to your target, then probably tracking calories is probably a bit more important.
Yeah.
If you're miles away, then
Habits.
you know, it's probably the last thing you need to worry about at the moment. Just changing your current habits is
That's the thing.
way more important, isn't it?
100%, I agree big time. And that's, like, if I had a client that came on board, like, that was, let's say, who had maybe a long journey ahead, like, you might you give an overview of, I suppose, education around nutrition, and you start implementing habits first. And, like, let's say if the client was found tracking fine, like, they might use as little bit of a maybe loose track just to give themselves an overview of maybe calorie content in certain things, just a bit more education for themselves. But the main focus you have early days with, like, let's say a client with a long road ahead of them is just building habits and just trying to get out of, I suppose, maybe all or nothing approach, maybe getting a bit more protein in their diet, a bit more fruit and veg in their diet, and then you just build from there, you know what I mean, instead of just going in you go, Margaret, like, you know what I mean? You know?
The nanny approach, we call it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like the nanny. Talk to us about so obviously the side of jockeying, about the two injuries that you mentioned, obviously collarbone, a lot of people can maybe break some collarbones in various sports.
Yeah.
You mentioned your spine a few times, like at the age of 19.
Yeah, so
Is it coming off a horse or what? Which?
I'm disappointed he's not called it.
I'm disappointed. He's got a test ready if I get there.
I was so confused, and he said to me, "Your collarbone is broke." I didn't even know what it was. I know. But yeah, so basically, I got a fall in February. I'm twisting my chair here. Sorry.
That's Wardy giving everything.
Did you just kick him, Woody?
Yeah, Wardy's warned us all. We had a few mic issues. Wardy's warned us all. Don't swing on your chairs.
February 2019, I got a fall. Things were going really well at the time. It was actually probably one time where I suppose I was getting a little bit of a roll was going. I had a few nice winners for a few decent owners and that, and I was happy with the way things are going. And next thing, shit hit the fan, and I got a fall in Clonmel. Horse broke its leg coming down the hill, basically with another circuit to go. It was a maiden hurdle. Horse broke its leg. I got but actually ended up obviously put all the pressure onto the other leg, and that broke as well, and I got catapulted forward, and I was just did a front flip. We were going about 40 mile an hour at this stage, bounced off the top of my back, did another one, bounced again off the top of my back, and just my T5, 6 and 7 just gave way, and I was lying on the ground. I was like, oh my god, this is nothing like anything I've ever witnessed before. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is more than what I anticipated, or this is more than I ever thought I was going to encounter, I suppose. Yeah. So I was on the ground, and obviously your trachy spine, obviously your rib cage, you're going to be winded, you know what I mean. You're going to be winded, and I was gasping on the ground.
Face up, face down. Then you get up.
Face planted for a bit. Yeah, I was just ugh, the tongue was out, and I was gasping on the ground. But I brought down another few lads as well.
I was just going to say, was there anything else coming behind you, or where were you in the pack?
I was right in the middle. So I got so far catapulted, I didn't get near another horse, but the horse that I was on, obviously, brought but I think it was maybe 3 more people. But I just remember I was on the ground, they were roaring while they were on the ground, just shouting at me, don't move, because obviously they had a clear view of what was all like. It was bad looking out. Show you afterwards. But from there, it's lying down, and a few people came around me, the doctor, all that came around me, and they were like, can you move your feet? The first thing I think of always hit the ground, I just wiggle my toes always. That's what I used to always do, just to be like, right, am I sound here? But I could feel them, and everything was good.
Okay.
And people came around me, and they were like, how are you? I was like, not good. And they were just doing a few tests on me, just tapping my legs, things like that. So they actually stood me up. I actually got up on my feet, and I was bent over. I was like gasping while I was standing up. And from there, I was just like, what's the story? I actually, the pain in my back is something unbelievable at the moment.
Sharp pain, numbness.
Oh, sharp and heaviness. It was just something was wrong. That's the way I put it. On the bone, and it was just the fact I couldn't catch my breath was a frightening part then as well. So they actually linked me into the ambulance at the time. So I was like, every bump I was feeling, I was like, oh my god, it's like someone was just rattling me spine. Hopped into the ambulance, and the road wasn't, let's say we were on the home straight, so the weigh room was, let's say, here. So we had to go the whole way around the track. So this bumpy road all around the track. I was rattling in the back of it. Linked me out of the ambulance, and I hopped on a spinal board when I was out of the ambulance, and there I was puffing on the yoke, the pneumonia. Yeah, sure, I was high as a kite then.
Morphine, is it? Is it morphine?
Yeah, I think it's morphine, sucker yoke, yeah. But I was high as a kite from there, and I was laughing away. So I was in bits.
Did I win the race?
Yeah. Went to Clonmel Hospital anyway, and I roar in the bed, the doctor had me standing up, and he was like, so basically he was saying it's only bruised. After I did a few x-rays, it was just bruising around it, and I was getting sick and everything, and I was dehydrated as well. I lost about 6 pounds for this race, so I was really dehydrated, but I wasn't able to drink water before the x-ray, so I was dying with the thirst as well on top of all this. So, but then the morphine going into me obviously messed up my stomach, because I hadn't eaten about 24 hours, I hadn't even water drank in 24 hours. So I was getting sick, I was nearly fainting and everything, so they were like, no, the results are clear after a good few hours. Went home, getting sick all the way home, lying in bed. I was like, jeez, there's something wrong here. But the doctor that treated me on track couldn't believe that it was all clear. He thought it was definitely going to be something small anyway, and got a CT scan in Galway Clinic. That came back clear. He was basically just your man that was scanning me. He was like, you're a big regent for the sport you're in or whatever. So that was another story. But anyway, the doctor that treated me on track was like, no way, it's not clear. Did an MRI then. This is all going about a week later. I was still at home there with a broken back, and that came back. It was 3 fractures and like a cracked rib or something. I have no idea. So I suppose the MRI is very clear, isn't it? I think the MRI takes everything. It's just, I don't know, maybe it's just very clear. But basically, That came back 3 fractures. That was all good. Clonmel rang 2 weeks later saying that could we speak. It rang my mother actually because she must have been next to Kane or right in the house. They rang her, not me. But anyway, they said to her that could Evan come to Dublin immediately. He has he's a broken back, and sure we knew at that stage like that was fine. Had the crack there for the 8 weeks of that. I suppose it was actually a great crack, and I suppose that was probably the one time where I was like, geez, I am missing out on some amount here with life in general.
As missing out on life because you're committing so much to the race.
Exactly. Yeah. It was like 7 days a week. It was pressure. It was weight management constantly. Whereas I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm looking at everyone at home here, the freedom they have like is unbelievable. So that was fine. That was probably the first inkling I had. Went back, broke my collarbone, off again. And that was 6 weeks, came back again, and I was just like, as I said, rewind back, this is right back where I am ringing error. Yeah, so I was like, them 2 breaks I think were the thing that hit home with me. I was like, I do not want to be in a job like this that is literally, I'm at a point now I'm not even enjoying it. To be honest, I feel like I'm starting from square one again. And it's just...
And it can happen again.
It can happen again. It wasn't even just that. It was just weight management. It was just... When I had no knowledge, I know if I had the knowledge now, might have been a different story. I might be still in the game. But I found that was just so draining constantly. Like, you had 6 to 12 pounds sometimes to take off in 24 hours, which was done. And, like, you can imagine doing that, like, that, all that water out of your body, like, you can't even open your mouth there. It's just stuck. And it just weaks the cat, and it's horrible.
And with your circle of friends from that industry as well, you were saying you see other people kind of, you feel like you're missing life. Like, did you have mates that were also doing it, or would your wider circle of friends have been whatever, playing and hurling and out the weekends and didn't have it, or was it?
Yeah, exactly what you said there. So like my group of friends at home wasn't racing, so I suppose at home in Galway there isn't many fucking jockeys I suppose at home. So it was all like hurling, going out, just general people I suppose. Whereas a jockey then was just your life as a jockey. That is it.
Yeah.
That you're stuck kind of. You know what I mean? And I suppose it was awful hard when I got out of race. And I was like, this is something now I thought from once I was 6 years old that this was it. Like, you know what I mean? But I think that was one time where I was like, I'm not spending my life doing something I hate, and that just has stuck with me going forward now as well. I found after I finished racing, I was like, no, I want a stable 9-to-5 job. That's all I was thinking. So from there, like obviously I said I did my personal training course with yourself. That led me up from the September all the way up to the February, right, in 2020. COVID hit. Went into a factory, just 9-to-5 job. Didn't think there was actually that much opportunities in the fitness industry. Didn't really look into it at all. And that was just my opinion at the time, which completely changed eventually.
Sorry, just to track back on that one. So you literally qualified as, 3 weeks before the official lockdown? Was it March?
Yeah, 4 weeks I think. I think we had a winter course that was running concurrently, and then they finished on the 13th. Their exams was on the 13th of March, on the Friday.
End of January I think, wasn't it? I think we finished off with something.
Yeah, you were September.
Yeah, you were the third launch one.
Yeah, so it finished
in about a month.
Yeah, so it finished in the January-ish
time. So welcome to the fitness industry, close all the gyms.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was it. Actually, I worked in the gym for like 2 weeks of that, and COVID was kind of hit. But I still at the time I was like, I'm not sure that I want this either. I wasn't sure with hours wise. Because as I said, I thought I wanted a real comfortable, cozy 9-to-5 job, have everything free, no pressure. Obviously, when you're a personal trainer, you have to accept that's not the reality.
You don't really switch off.
Yeah, you don't really switch off as such. So from there, I did a factory job for like 6 months while I was after applying for engineer. Went into engineer, soon realised, fuck this.
Same.
Oh, stop, go away.
Yeah.
Well, I did manufacturing. What you do?
Civil engineering.
Civil, yeah.
I didn't even get through college. I realised it was like, right, what do I do here? Civil engineering, never done tech drawing in my life.
Yeah,
it's just what I do. Bolton Street with people in the class who knew what they were doing. Tried to teach myself tech drawing. Lasted a year. Absolutely hated it. In tears in my kitchen. Auntie was there. What are you looking to do? But I love fitness. Went on a course. Long story short, that's how I got into the fitness industry, by doing something else that I realised I hated. But
so important. That is literally what I was getting to. I was in the factory, went doing engineering, and I realised that was the turning point. I was like, I think I don't regret anything I've done, because all them things led me to, I suppose, where I am now in regards to knowing what you actually want. And I'm actually fairly clear now. I think, well, I'm only young, obviously, anything can happen, but I've never been as happy now. But I actually passed engineer that first year. How it was just look at God really with COVID, like, you know, it was all online. It was fucking it was a breeze, like, you know what I mean. Well, no, sorry, it wasn't a breeze, but they were very lenient on you, I suppose, because they were like, oh, the poor old fellas, this is very tough on them, whatever.
They didn't get their freshers week.
Yeah. So I passed that, but let's say so. This was September 2020, so we're gone around into February 21.
Yes.
So I said to myself, I don't really want to work for anyone at the moment. I said I need a part-time job, obviously, though, and I was on the PUP at the time, so I was like, it was grand, like, you know what I mean. So I was like, this is not going to last. So I was just said, right, I need a part-time job now. Got off the PUP. So I went and I looked at, let's say, different areas around home, little studios or out shed, anywhere at all. I was like, will I build a shed at home and I start doing one-to-one in person, have a little bit of a side income there.
Yeah.
That was my intention. So I ended up and I went from 0 to 100. I fully revamped this whole place and I pumped a good bit into it, alright. Like but it was the best thing I ever did. Pumped a lot into it and did it. It was a full revamp now that we did.
So where was it? Like at home?
10 minutes away from home.
Perfect.
This shed was like in an awful state when we found it, but I said this actually has potential. Ended up being brilliant. I was fully booked. I literally fully booked, doing a serious amount of hours in person, because at the time I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my god, I'm getting all these clients. Like I thought I was only gonna get
period of time.
Yeah. Oh, say that again.
So to get to get to that fully booked stage, so if anybody's kind of listening, they can say, right, you've got the location.
Yeah.
Between location to fully booked, like what was the quick process there?
So to be honest, right, and it's really important to have realistic expectations here. It genuinely, I was full within 2 weeks, and it was people just started coming. I've no idea why. It was a lot of local people, but I had no idea why they were coming, because like obviously I hadn't really I had no results to show or anything like that. You know what I mean? But just for anyone listening, this isn't reality. Like it's a slog. Like, you know, it can be a slog. But at the time I was doing crazy hours and I was really happy. Couldn't have wished for a better job, like, at the time. But I was like, right, this isn't really realistic long term, I suppose. But so basically from there I was getting results. So that's then where more people started coming. So then I was getting results, word of mouth, and that's how I started selling it, I suppose. Wasn't really on social media as such, nothing we were talking about at the time. So it was all word of mouth, and I was doing probably maybe 50 hours, 55 hours a week maybe. And from there I was like, I think October, I was like, right, this isn't realistic. I had maybe 10 online clients as well, just a bit of side income. And I was like, this isn't realistic long term when I'm maybe getting a house. And I was always thinking long term, because I knew I liked the job. So I was like, geez, this is going somewhere maybe. I quit engineering actually, sorry. So I quit that. So this is the September. I messaged Sean Casey in October, who is just a bit of help with social media. How do I go from being in person at home, just, I suppose, stuck in my... Yeah, I didn't want to be stuck in my own parish, kind of. I wanted a bit of freedom. I was only 21 at the time, like, so I wanted a bit of freedom, like, and I like, eventually now, I thought this was going to be a 5-year process, like, and wanted a bit of freedom, so I just said, right, what... Can you help me, I suppose? So he said, I think he had looked through my social media. He's like, yeah, if I could, we'll have a call. Popped on a call, and it was from there, right? He gave me reassurance in regards to what's possible, but he set a realistic timeline. It could have been 5 years, could be a year, could be anything. So I was like, right, I trust you. He was genuine as could be, and went from there. And I started posting properly in December. From January to February, that's when the full book kind of came online. And I still do an in-person time then as well.
So 2 months of kind of
consistent posting. Yeah, consistent posting. And consistently posting the right things, I think, as well. And it's just, obviously, we could probably get onto that in a while again about social media. But basically, from there, in person and online, the February of 22 just gone by, I was like, Jesus, this is the amount. I'm getting so many applications online here now. I hit maybe, I'm on 90,000 followers, let's say, on TikTok now, 150,000 on Instagram, but I think it was maybe about 40 or 50,000 on TikTok within the space of maybe 2 months. You know what I mean? So it blew up really fast.
Just consistently posting, engaging with people in the comments. Anybody again who's listening, oh Jesus, Is it just that consistency that's needed?
Yeah, it's the consistency, but I suppose it's one thing being consistent, but if you're consistently doing the wrong things, well, you're good luck to you, like, do you know what I mean? And I suppose that's where Sean came in with the social circle, I suppose, with his
Only heard good things about Sean.
Yeah, he's honestly a very genuine fella, like, honestly, as down to earth as could be, and like friendly with the man now, like, do you know what I mean? And I signed up to him as a bit of a business mentor, social media. But it just happened, he's just a sound fella, and we just happened to click, and that's always a good sign as well, you know what I mean? There's a lot of gurus and stuff out there now too, so that was the way Sean was, and he gave me the knowledge that he gained over the years, I suppose, of how he grew with social media and how he learned himself, so he put everything onto me, and just, I suppose, knowing how to post, knowing your algorithm, knowing how to be yourself, connect with people, and just people just happen to start engaging with me. But again, this is completely different for everyone. It takes people longer, it takes people shorter, everyone is different.
Would you be an extrovert? Like, would you have been comfortable on a camera chit-chatting like so?
That's really important actually as well, I suppose, for people listening. Like, I remember having a conversation with Sean. I was like, come here, I've never even talked to the camera. I did an RDL video, and I genuinely must have been 2 hours making it. Like, I had no issue talking to the person in person about showing them through any exercise, obviously, like, at the time, like loads done, like, with heaps of clients gone through. But when the camera was there, I was like, I was still turned away to myself.
Completely different in that camera, isn't it?
Oh, completely. And it was shocking video as well at the end of it all. It was a terrible tutorial. And posted, and that was the only talking video I did. But then Sean was like, right, you're just going to have to commit to it. And that accountability, he was like, just do it. After your first few, you will be fine. Because for anyone listening here, it's like anything you do. At the very start, you're going to be absolutely brutal. Whether that's starting the gym, whether that's starting a new job, whether that's starting anything, you're going to be so bad at the start. But it's literally by doing repetitions that you just get better and better and better. And that's the reality of it. And that's the exact way with social media. Like, if you look back at my videos, I'm there, like, I'm just literally, there's no bit of go to me at all, like, because I was just looking at this big lens. I was like, Jesus. And but after I posted 5 times a day, then after about 2 weeks, and it was just every single day, 5 times a day, and that's a hard thing to do. If you try and do that now, like, it's tough, like, it's draining. We up 12 o'clock at night sometimes doing videos, and that's the way it was, and that's the reality of it. But it was worth it. It was like short-term, what's the word saying, short-term pain, long-term gain, I suppose. The statement I'd say, it was really, really long hours, but it really, really paid off. But like, for anyone listening, you do have to commit to it, but just learn off people who are in a position that you want to be in, I suppose, yourself as well. Because that's what I did. That's what I did with Sean. Like, that's what I did with Sean, and like, he made mistakes. He gave the mistakes to me, and like, if you're not learning, you have to learn off other people's mistakes as well. There's no point in 2 people making the same mistakes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just the outlook I had on it, and I suppose that's the way it went from there, I suppose. Yeah. Sorry, there's an awful lot there, but was there?
No, it's really it's ridiculously impressive. You do the same with cameras and stuff like that now.
Oh, well, I don't know, still not comfortable.
I think Johnny's quality with the online stuff that we do, like you're on camera most now, I know. Adam that's here, Marty just tells me what to say, and I'll say it, but I think you're very good.
Well, you talk about that, the length of time it takes you to do your first one. I think my first tutorial that I recorded, I mean, I do it differently now, I just do it in one take anyway, and there's no editing either. But at the time I was doing it page by page, edit by edit. I think it took me a full day to get an hour's worth of content. You know, it's like, well, we got the whole course. Well, at this time, we weren't even sure the whole course was going online. We thought COVID would be over in about 4 weeks. We just do a little bit of content, keep happy to be back in May or something like that, and then it just carried on, didn't it? So, but you have to get quicker because, you know, it's not sustainable to spend a full day doing an hour video.
There's no, but like, as well, for me, I couldn't do the amount that I was doing either, you know what I mean? Like, sorry, I couldn't do the same amount that I was doing now, you know, but I spent a solid year just pushing all of this, and all it takes is one video and it can completely change things, you know what I mean? Genuinely can completely change things with the way social media is at the moment, you know what I mean? But
what's your thoughts on it, social media at the minute? It's a mental minefield, isn't it?
It's insane. It's crazy. Like, it's good and it's bad, you know what I mean? It can completely change lives. It can completely change lives. It changed my life without doubt, you know what I mean? Because it just opened up so many more doors, and I suppose opportunities arose that I thought never would. But at the same time then as well, like, there's a lot of people now are just trying to nearly copy people now too, and I see this an awful lot now, like genuine, there was genuine people word for word, like, I mean, you couldn't say it any more word for word than some of my videos that I was doing.
Really?
And I messaged one fella because I was like, forget this now, this is a joke. Like, you know, he did everything the same. He got his road mic, he did his character, he had the exact script of about 7 videos in a row. And I was like, hang on a second now, right? This is ridiculous. Like, because you're not going to do any good for yourself if you're just copying. So, of course, there's only so much right information you can say. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, go your own way of doing things, your own personality in that. Everyone can do same types of videos, but put your own personality. Of course, you have to, like, because no one's going to click with you.
It's all the information's recycled. It's not our own. It's somebody else's information. We have to recycle it, but you got to do it your own way. Yeah.
You have to, and you have to recycle information too. Like, you know, because like for me, like I've learnt off, like, let's say the likes of yourself. Like, so many people, like yourself was the very start, but then like other people then online, you do learn things online, listen to podcasts, you like your Ben Carpenters, your Len Nortons, do you know what I mean? A lot of big things, you do learn things off that, and you do have to break that down. Like, it's like anything, it's like every job has only a certain amount of correct information, you know what I mean? But you have to put your own twist on things too, you know? And that's the reality of it, and you have to have an open mind, as we were saying at the start. Like, you can't just have... you can't be blindsided to one side, you know. You have to have an open mind and take everything on board.
You're a social one, aren't you, Jimmy?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Mind you, you were the first on TikTok.
Don't do anything on TikTok. I just watch videos.
Yeah,
I love it.
but you were the first one out of the whole team, weren't you? Actually, sort of on TikTok and stuff like that. And
I think Wardy might have been a close second. Were you, Wardy?
Doing your bit, find me.
Well, that wasn't on TikTok, you see. I just see, obviously, the Two Big Looks, is it? He's changed his name now on TikTok, hasn't he? But anyway, I thought he was cracking. So I done it just for a crack in the kitchen. We was working from home, and our babby was in the house, and she just recorded me. And then obviously stuck it in a group chat, and you took it and stuck it on. But it wasn't a TikTok. It just ended up into a little group chat on WhatsApp, and then you stuck it up on Instagram and stuff like that. Made me look like a right idiot.
I don't stick things up, but don't leave me hanging. I don't stick stuff up on Instagram. They don't know me.
My dog even was confused. My dog's just looking at me saying, what's going on? He was telling.
That was the same with me the other day. I did a character video outside, and me little Jack Russell there, and he started going, oh, he didn't know what was going on. I was chatting to this invisible man beside me here, like, he was as confused as could be. But he's in the video, I just left him in it, like, you know.
I'd say with the videos that you do, anybody who hasn't logged on or isn't subscribed or follows him, and have a look at the way he does his videos, they're brilliant. But like that idea to come through, because I'm sure if there's a fly in the wall looking in at your house, you look like a lunatic. Half the time, but it works, and you're giving across some really good info in bite-sizable chunks that people can kind of go, oh yeah,
want to hear more
in such a short amount of time in a non. Or I suppose it's not like boring, but it's not intimidating at all.
Yeah, it's simple. You break it down. It's basic, but it's education. You're not just talking shite for the sake of it. You're giving a bit of input to common questions, and misconceptions, and you're making it absolutely simple and plain English, and it's just what everybody understands.
And I suppose that's probably maybe why people have clicked maybe with me. That's what I'm presuming, because I put myself in a position where people have no understanding of nutrition, or let's say I'm thinking back to, let's say, me, who hadn't a clue about nutrition. People don't want to hear you talking about big complicated words. You have to be able to break down that knowledge, you know what I mean? Because like your general population people aren't going to care about certain things, like complicated things that you do need to know. But you have to be able to just break it down for the person, and I think that's maybe why people have clicked with some of the content, because they get it. I think they get it. They're like, oh fucking hell, I'm struggling with that now, and they're like, it clicks. You know what I mean? And I think that's maybe it. But for again, anyone like wanting to post on social media, like, you need to know the ins and outs of things. But I think it's as important to be able to break it down. I think. Do you know? Do you agree?
Yeah, you could be, like I said, you could be posting a hell of a lot of shit.
Yeah.
That people will just get pissed off with anyway.
That's the thing.
I don't think we need to know what happens to carbohydrates when they digest and store in the body. We need to know about glycogen stores. Our clients don't.
No. They just need to know what it does, maybe.
Actually, don't be afraid of it, because this is going to fuel your workouts. Don't be afraid of them. So it's about educating them,
That's the thing. And you might have another client on board, and they're literally like asking more questions, maybe more in-depth questions. But like, most people just need to know what it does. What can I do? Like, why is this okay? Why is this not okay? You know what I mean? You need to simplify things, and I think a lot of people try to overcomplicate things.
Comfort levels broken down.
100%. People maybe fire 101 different things at this poor old person here who's been struggling with weight all their life, they don't need to know how the way carbohydrate breakdown, fat, like they don't need to know the ins and outs, you know?
They need to know that what they're trying to achieve is possible.
Yeah,
And if they
and
find-
have the education behind it, but in really simple terms, you know, like so they can apply it day to
Yeah,
day.
it's a fitness industry. Like it has a huge part to play
100%.
in society. But when you see someone like yourself who has got a big following on social media that you've built yourself, and by following others and helping
Yeah,
others
sure.
and stuff like that,
Yeah.
when you see someone like yourself breaking it down in that simple manner, it works. It's a breath of fresh air. You're not standing there with your chest out or just your top off.
Yeah.
And listen, there's a place
Fact.
for all that as well. And I always say the same thing. If the public general social influencers, some people don't like them. It's a graft.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
are putting this 24/7. Like some people with those big amount of followers, they can never shut off.
That's the thing.
And they walk down the street, they're recognised. So like it's like having the famous face. You can't switch off. So to have somebody doing it as a breath of fresh air, doing it simply and digestible pieces, I think that's the formula and that's why it works.
Exactly, and like at the same time, there's a time and place for everything. Like the fella that will have, let's say, their top off and like does his own thing. He has another clientele that he wants, whereas I'm not interested in that. You know what
And
I
it
mean?
works for him.
It works for
or,
him.
Or her, or whoever like that.
Just-
They've got themselves into that shape and they're happy and bravo. There's a place for it all.
Fact.
Yeah,
Fact.
100%.
That's what makes everybody different, though, isn't
Yeah.
it?
So important. Like do your own thing, like, and don't be just literally copying what a person does because they've took off. Because like probably won't work for you because there people connect with people like on social media, you know.
So
And
we're not allowed to take our tops off on social media.
I got the show on her, that's so sorry.
Maybe 5
That's
6
probably why
years
you
ago, I might have done my top stay though.
Before them lasagna sandwiches, was it?
Was
Was
that
that your class that used to give Johnny Steakovers lasagna sandwiches?
Yeah.
I know, you got no holistic
Okay.
Johnny now. There's
I got loads of
there's
sticks to
a
be
lot of
fair.
stuff,
They're always picking on me, Connor.
It's self-inflicted.
There was a lot of shit now in fairness.
I think I used to do the roast beef.
the roast beef.
The roast beef
yeah,
and
yeah,
mashed potatoes in a baguette, didn't I?
yeah, about 25 coffees a day then of that.
Who was it? Who were the lads? There was two
They
lads
were, they
doing
were
a
actually in it.
podcast.
They were in Evan's class, yeah.
Were they?
Sean Ryan, yeah, and Owen.
Yeah. Sean was mad, right?
He was
wasn't
talking about me
Mad
lasagna
fella.
sandwich.
They were talking about the first day they met Johnny going over the centre and ordering his lasagna sandwich and they were behind him in the queue. But they spoke about it for about 5 minutes. And
See, he don't need a knife and fork.
That was on Sean's podcast, was it?
I think he mentioned it.
Yeah. They were chatting about you. I think I remember hearing that. That was ages
he
ago.
goes
actually,
over
wasn't
to
it?
the centre here as well, big slab of it.
That's dirty.
Love
Like,
it.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Carbs on
That-
carbs, you can't beat it.
Can't beat it. You're fucking buzzing, so you are, right?
I don't have to ride a horse, you see. I don't need to watch me.
Would you jog much? Would you run much?
Oh, sure. I don't really see any STD, but.
Nace is not a right spot for
Oh, you fucker, yeah. It's a total different thing, so.
I couldn't let it go. Jesus. I'm sure there's a clip.
I'll touch on that oil, but.
I think Wardy might even have a clip there.
Oh, it was that. This is what. I came in. I was like, how are these boys watching racing? I don't know.
I was like, "Oh, that's the rest of the race, is it? Holy shit! So Manny thought he was watching
It's like you
this.
had the volume up there, did you?
Joe song is listening to George Ezra, Hold My Girl.
Brilliant. That's Evan. Anybody listening or watching, that's
It was fucking shocking.
Okay,
Did
so
you get much stick
how
over that?
much of a bollocking did you get?
Yeah.
Brutal. Like I was riding for JP McManus on the day. You know JP McManus?
Yeah.
So like I was riding for JP on the day.
No
like,
fucking around, like.
like the biggest owner in the industry, like, and I had a few pounds to lose. I think I maybe had like 5 or 6 to take off, and I had maybe 2 more to go that day. That was like a few hours before the race, so put on the sweat gear and went out for a jog back into the sauna for 15 minutes and take off the last couple of pounds.
Yeah.
And I just happened to arrive at the race course like in between races. And so there was let's say race 2 was gone out, they were down to start, so everyone was kind of quiet, and I just obviously went blank or something. I'm not sure what happened. I went completely blank. And I just put on my hat, put on my earphones, and I went out and I just started jogging. And I thought it was the start of the race meeting in my head,
Yeah.
but then I was like, I didn't think this when I was arriving here, like, do you know what I mean? I just went blank, completely
Yeah.
blank. I have no justification for it. I wasn't able to say what happened because I didn't know.
Were you running across the course or were you running along the course or?
This was the thing that changed life or death now, to be honest with you, because so I was jogging down the race course and I'd always walk the track, and but
Yeah.
you'd usually do it when there's no race on, usually, like, you know. But I was running down the rails, say down the inside, For whatever reason, this time I went to, obviously I wasn't going jumping over the hurdle, I was probably too weak at the time nearly, so I went around the outside of the hurdle, so I was on the way back into the rail, if you get me, but usually I go under the inside, so the fact that I went wide and went outside, I was just on my way back in, but if I went under the inside rail, I would have been right there right back the hurdle, and I would have been killed.
Jesus
so I was, as you can see there, if you see the clip, I was on my way back in, and next thing it was just the bike come near, I felt the ground vibrating.
That's holy shit. Jurassic Park stuff.
I was thinking where I was like, right, where is Navan race course? I was looking, I was like, please tell me I'm on the side view camera, and I looked up and there was the fucking camera. I was like, oh man, this is fucking disaster. My life is over. I genuinely thought my whole career was dust then. Thought it was gone.
And must have shit your job.
Shit myself. But it was a grade 2 race as well, so a proper race. So you had, I'll tell you the list of jockeys, you might know some of them. Ruby Walsh.
You might know some of them.
Ruby Walsh.
He's got a slot.
Yeah. Ruby Walsh, David Russell, Mark Walsh, Jack Kennedy, Robbie Power. So like the pinnacle of just the top-notch fellas were racing. So came back in and there was these boys out in the stand. It was big race day, like people were drunk and everything.
I would have changed my clothes.
Big luminous hat on me, and I actually took the hat off to maybe the bike was off. And next thing, they all started clapping. So they did. As I was going by, I was like, "Oh fuck!" Everyone obviously saw it. So and I went back in, and the stewards were like waiting for me. So brought me into the stewards room. Like the stewards room is like this type of room. All in suits, really intense, really formal, gentry sort of people. Like, I was like, oh shit, this is disaster. So I actually went to the weigh room first, and I saw Ruby filling up a glass. I was like, I just had my hands up, and he's like, "What the fuck happened to you?" And I said, "Ruby, I don't know. I wasn't able to talk." Like, he was like, "You're all right. He's not. Just please mind yourself." I was like,
fair play.
That was grand. That was easy. Jeez, I was like, I thought I was going to get grilled. There was a couple of them right that weren't too impressed. Like, but they found it funny about 10 minutes later. Jeez. But we went into the stewards room, and they were like, "What happened?" And I was like, I don't know. I actually can't. I said all I can say is I'm sorry. I have no idea what's after happening, and I'll just have to take whatever's given to me. So I only got a warrant. Actually, usually you get like a couple of days suspension.
So you were able to ride that day anyway.
I rode that day. Rode that day, and I was in the weigh room. Sure, all the boys were watching the replay, not laughing like at it. Like, but the Twitter messages I was getting, I was called everything under the sun. Or literally under the sun. The Sun newspaper headline. Dumb Daly. Dumb Daly was the thing. I got such abuse. Messenger, Facebook, Twitter, everything. I was getting an awful stick, but it shortly weaned off.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It was so close. Like looking back at it there, I don't know if we're able to.
It was so close. Like it was. I felt the wind.
Holy God!
I couldn't believe it. I thought I was going to
You were
drink
there before you realised it.
I thought this was the camera angle. I was like, okay, not too bad. And then I was like, just changed.
Oh my God.
Oh, fucking disastrous it was, yeah.
It's your little wheel spin that you do with your feet. Like, you know when you dream when you're getting chased and you're not, you just can't run your feet. Load for it.
Oh, fucking. That was it. I was like, I was trying to run, but there was nowhere. I wasn't making any headway, like, you know what I mean?
You had to change direction.
I lost a couple of pounds, and I tell you, that's for sure.
Out the rear.
That was a shower though, was it?
Yeah, I was
laughing about it, but holy God.
Yeah, it was a close one. That was a close one. But sure, I thought going back to, let's say, the boss, like Joseph O'Brien, I was like, oh my God, he's going to kill me. But they found hilarious. They found it absolutely hilarious. I was like, geez, I got away handy here, like, you know, because I actually looked like an
Until you came on the Image X podcast.
Yeah. I looked like some dope. But anyway.
Was it Aaron who noticed it? Did he say it to you on the phone, did he?
Say that again?
Did Aaron recognise the name when you rang in?
He did, actually. I forgot about that, actually.
He said it to me. He said, have a chat with young Everett and ask him about his running. I thought he's in a quarter or something like that. Right. So I can remember saying it to you in class. I don't know,
did he I was obviously messaging him first. I was just didn't ring him.
Yeah, I think you might have filled in that was your background being a jockey and had broken your
and he looked
back and stuff. Maybe, but I know that's the information that came in on our system when you were inquiring, of course. Just because, again, Aaron sent it on to me because I was doing a bit of research on yourself for the podcast, and he sent on your initial clip. So I'd say he might have, I don't know, maybe it was the
I know
name. It might have been the name.
I think you recognise the name, but then obviously he said it to me because he said it early doors. I said it during in class, didn't I?
He did
What was you
actually.
going to say?
Yeah. He said it very. He said it. I think he recognised the name, and I think he might have had a look see for sure or something like. But I did some laugh. And I was like, here. I think it was the first thing he nearly said to me on the phone. I was like, fuck. That was funny. That was funny. It's a good story.
Interested in maybe doing a PT career. I'm at crossroads in my life.
Yeah.
I'm could do it on your voice. Was that you that ran out in front of the fucking horses, is it?
And a low pint.
Cheers. Cheers.
Kicking handies out.
Still recovering after breaking me clapping.
That was very impressive actually, clapping.
And Aaron's just running his mandible off on the phone. Look at this. How'd you find Aaron the deal actually?
Oh sure, gents, Aaron is straightforward. He just down to earth, you know what I mean? Just down to earth. And that's, to be honest, that's always what if I was sign up to someone, I'm very informal with the way I do things to an extent. I'm trying to just be genuine, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it's businessy, I'm not going to pretend I'm a different person really, in regards to being formal. Obviously we try and talk well on camera, but you still put in yourself into it. But I find if ever I'm just even trying to, if I'm signing up for anything at all, let's say what I look for, let's say when I was messaging Sean, the reason I clicked with him was he is who he's just a genuine person, you know what I mean? Yeah. And sure, Aaron the same way. Just sound out that's I wouldn't click with someone who is just all form. And I don't want to describe form is the wrong word to use as well, but you know what I mean.
It's almost a facade.
Yeah,
to give a social impression of who they are rather than what they're actually like. That's like JB here. That's why we love Johnny.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a bit of smoke up your rear end again, but that's what
100%.
Listen, image in a nutshell. There's no kind of hierarchy. Everybody just gets on with each other. But that's, I think, why Johnny's a good shooter and why some of our other shooters are brilliant, because there is no bravado or ego or anything like that. Because you've got somebody in a classroom who might be absolutely petrified sitting there. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you came in, you had people that you maybe initial look at them, you thought they know a lot more than me. They're bigger than me. They've obviously got a lot of experience in the gym. Am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right place? I don't know. And then you've got somebody like Johnny who on day one breaks it down just nice and easy. Everybody's welcome. Education is for everybody. It's not a competition.
Fact. Yeah.
And it works like that. We're the same within Image and not just Image, a lot of other companies that are similar in their own industry that do the same thing. Some of them have the same sort of morals. Obviously there's others that are out there that are doing.
Of course. And
other that I don't agree with, which I won't name, but I think that's why it works. And Wardy, anybody who's on or watching the podcast, you can't see Adam behind the camera here. But he's the same. He's the quiet man. Takes no credit for what we do. Doesn't look for any credit. Just gets on with it and gets it done. Gets shit done. Tells us what to do, and that works.
He's a real boss.
Wardy's a real boss. Yeah.
You know when you come in, right? He's here fucking lined up.
I dread him. I dread a voice note from our ward because it's work, isn't it? Does he want me to do now? Yeah. Evan's in on Wednesday.
Yeah, fuck it.
But no, on Aaron. Aaron's an absolute gent. Anybody again who's watching it, if you're picking up the phone or if you're interested in the course, it'll probably be Aaron or Adam that you're talking to. Anyway, enough about having to. We don't need to plug Image or anything like that. It's a chit chat. And we said that before.
We said that,
it's not like, oh, how good are your course and what do you reckon? We're not going down that road. So you moved America? We
went to America during the summer there. Just summer gone by, sorry, yeah. So we were there for 9 weeks, came back. My girlfriend's sister was getting married, so we were home for that wedding. And it was class, it was unbelievable. At the time,
where'd you go?
Went to San Fran. San Fran, then did Vegas and San Diego. It was hectic enough, because obviously, I was 22, still had to crack or whatever. Yeah. But then I was in the depths of launching a group coaching thing, which is it's called the Daly Fitness Community, but it's a group coaching thing. So basically, that was intense because a lot of presentations and just a lot of setup and just making sure everything is just so clear for people, I suppose. Yeah. Because obviously I was intending on getting a nice number of people in and that, and I just wanted to make it just proper good. So I was living with the lads. So we were living in a spot called Oakland, just outside San Fran. Right. Three other lads I was living with, a few of the lads from home there. Savage crack, but obviously we went out and stuff but I still had to be right, I need to get the bit of a balance here or else everything's going to go to shit.
Balance is the key though.
Yeah, that was the key. It kept me sane, but I still wasn't missing out on anything, but there was times where I was right, you have to know when to draw the line on things. You know what I mean? So I launched that, I suppose. Yeah, so went to San Fran, went to Sandy. I was doing all that one-to-one online, check-ins there a couple of times a week, and I was doing all content, and that's where I suppose exploded on Instagram. It was like one video that really went viral.
What was it?
It was just literally a character video again, but I was just, it's me standing in front of the mirror. I was just on about, let's say, what was I talking about? Just about, so one person, the one character was like, I felt like I've gained fat overnight, things like that. I was the other person explaining why that just isn't happening.
Yes.
You're not going to look the exact same every single day, things like that. But that just banged with people, and that got like 5 million views. And that's the one that got from, I was going up like 10,000 followers a week, 20,000 some week, but then that's when it went from like 70 to 100, and then 100 to 150 within 2 days, like more or less. And that's literally
Just
what
that
happened.
one.
That was the one that really did it, but there was all
That got him to stay. That was the catalyst.
Yeah. So basically, there was one building up, and as I said, I was going up 10k a week, which is a lot, like a lot of followers, and then started going up 20k a week, and then it was just, as I said, took a nice jump, and then a massive jump as well. And I think it was kind of that one that got the lot of views. But that's when I suppose everything changed. But at the time, you're always, obviously you can build a following, right? But if they're not engaged at the same time, it's another story. So when I launched my group thing, I was shitting it. So I was like, fucking hell, I'm nervous here now. Like, I've been talking about this for the past 3 months, and I'm like, right, what if no one turns up for it? Like, and then I got a nice number of people in there. Like, I got 200 into the group set, and they're all getting results as well, which is really important as well. Like, obviously not like, you're not always going to click with every single person. That's the reality of it. And people, that's just people being real. Yeah. You're not always going to get a result with every person, but a lot of people are getting plenty of results in it, so it's great. So I was delighted that went well while being abroad as well. So I was a little bit afraid of that, how to balance things. But I did that. I launched that while I was in Vegas, actually. Did I think it was Vegas or San Diego.
Do you ever pinch yourself and kind of go, hang on, I'm 22 in Vegas after launching this. There's X amount of people after coming through, which is huge.
Yeah.
You spoke to me before, kind of saying, what if, am I going to be overwhelmed? Am I going to have too many people messaging me? But you're saying because you had it structured so well that people didn't have too many queries and it was really manageable and everybody was getting what they want. But like 22, launching this in Vegas, like most people at 22 probably haven't ever even been to Vegas, never mind after falling off a horse, breaking your back, breaking your collarbone, running out on a horse track in front of Ruby Walsh, getting the bollock and going doing a personal trainer course, going over to the States, setting up an online business, having the balls to reach out to people on social media as well, the likes of Sean. Like that probably out of your comfort zone.
Extremely, yeah.
Like, do you ever kind of think back, or you seem quite humble, where you're probably going, no, I'll keep plugging on with what I'm doing because I'm doing all right?
I think you have to be like, right, look back in the year, be like, what's after happening? Like, I'm always like, be like, right, reflect, as I'm stuttering here, reflect on it, I suppose, and just be, I'm so grateful for what has happened, like, do you know what I mean? And that's been genuine, like, because I never ever thought anything like this would happen, but at the same time, nothing changes, you know what I mean? It's still full steam ahead, like, you know what I mean? You never, I don't know, people think, oh, you're at 150,000 followers. It doesn't mean, and it's the same freaking thing. For example, my following, let's say, was going down a little bit, which just happens when you have a massive jump up. Yeah. But then I was like, I saw it going down, I was like 2 times a day, and I just started drilling things out again, and now it's reverted back again, so it's climbing again. But it was only yesterday I started going up the way again, and I was like, I was a little bit fearful nearly as I was going down, even though I had nothing to be fearful about, you know what I mean, at the time. But I think it's important to have that little bit of fearing it to an extent as well, because if you don't, you're just going to get, what's the word, get a bit maybe laxy-daisy and
complacent.
That's the one I was looking for.
You also have a bit of, like, a responsibility there. Like me personally, I've never had a social media company. Like I always say that I've never had one, and probably like a personal one. I probably never will. But imagine with 150,000 followers, there's also a responsibility there that if you put out something that doesn't go down well, there's 150,000 people that it doesn't go down well too.
That's the thing.
You know what I mean? So I'm sure there's pressures that come with that as well, that maybe people might look and go, 150,000 followers, it's easy for him. There's also high risk as well.
Because like, you can put up one video and it mightn't be like unknown to yourself, maybe, without you. If you're putting up so many all the time, you're like, there might be a maybe you worded something a little bit off, or People
Someone
will
might
always
take
catch up.
offence.
I've never really got much grilling as such. Like you might have certain people maybe Slim and World or something like that. But I don't care because like I like the people who I want to work with are people maybe who have came from that, and I suppose telling story would have told me.
It's a user 196.
Yeah, you know what I mean. That's all, and I don't care because like they're never going to buy anything off you. You know what I mean. That's the reality of it. But I just like to portray that I have an open view on everything to an extent. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. That's the way I try to portray on social media. But as I said, it's a never-ending thing realistically, you know what I mean? Yeah, as you said, you have that following built up, but not only following, you have your batch of clients built up. Your day-to-day doesn't change. Like, obviously, you have more freedom, obviously, you're making more money, that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
But nothing changes for me. Like, I'm just thinking what's next nearly, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or how can I keep pushing it on? That's what I look, because I'm only 22, like,
Yeah.
no one knows what's going to happen in even a few months with the way things are going. You know what I mean? A little bit frightening to an extent, I suppose.
Yeah. For everybody.
For everyone. And that's just me being real about it. Like, people might look, and I think, because if I saw someone with 150,000 followers, I'd be like, oh, Rosie B, these solids could be. I never feel that way. That's why I put it, yeah. I don't know, it's good, it's bad, I'm not sure, but I'm happy. That's why I put it, yeah.
The fact they're genuine followers as well. You know,
Yeah.
you know, would you be into it? If you had 150,000 followers, or
I don't know what would count now. Having to do a
you'd
video.
be loved. You'd be
I don't know. I don't like doing videos, do I?
Yeah, I think you can't think too much about it either. Like, you know, if for some people social media isn't for them, but I just kind of was like, it wasn't for me to start, but I just got into it, and I'm comfortable, you know what I mean? But I'm confident in kind of things I'm saying as well, you know what I mean? I'll stay in my lane, you know what I mean? That's really important. I think sometimes
that comes across with you, that you know what you're talking about, but you're not going off on crazy topics where you might be opening up a can of worms.
Facts, because I don't need to, you know what I mean? And it's going to do more. It's not what my following want to hear either, like, you know.
No.
But I think, like, with personal trainers as well, I just chatting to a fellow about this yesterday actually. People, let's say if they're successful, like, personal trainers go outside their lane a good bit, I find as well. I don't know if you see this online or whatever, but they start talking about things that just have nothing got to do with them. They think they're a fucking life coach, they think they're everything.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's that always with the client, there's nearly that element of half like counselling to the extent, not counselling, but you're always like guiding the person, and there's a lot of real proper connection, like, but you have to know when to draw the line of where the boundary
Where
is.
your advice stops. You have a scope of practice. Don't think anybody ever stays within the scope of practice,
No.
no matter what industry you're in. But we do have a scope, and that's what it's there for, you know.
That's the thing.
And, you know, you're not a dietitian. Okay, you know a bit about nutrition,
That's
and you
the
can
thing.
advise them, but stop recommending certain stuff. That's a dietitian's job.
Fact, and people just need to be aware of that too, and it's important. It's important because, like, you might know what you're talking about, but sometimes you just need to rein it back a little bit and stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. It's a nice way of putting it, though.
To an extent, obviously, you have to go a little bit outside, and you talk about things to maybe a client individually and that about certain things, you know what I mean? But you just have to be careful sometimes, you know.
But it doesn't matter if I say something and go out of my lane, no one's listening to it. But if you say something, there's an awful lot of, there's hundreds of thousands of people listening to it. So you've got to be spot on with what you're saying as well. You want to keep it simple, you want to be educational, but you got to be spot on. You can't be spouting shite.
Yeah, like, I did find that, like, when I first started, things started getting a bit intense, because it got intense very fast. Like, fucking hell, like, even on my story here, like, I was like, I was getting a shade, kind of like, there's a lot. I was just thinking about a lot of eyes, but that settles down again after like a little bit, you know. But again, as I said, if you're confident in what you're talking about, you've nothing to worry about as such, you know what I mean. But just make sure you are confident, and I think the confidence comes from learning, you know. Like, I didn't just do the personal training course and just that was it, learning out the gap. Like, there was so much more than that, and that's so important. And Eve said that at the very start as well. In fairness, like, you always said, this is the very start. There's so much more from here. Did a nutrition course, just got a cert as a nutritionist. But in a I suppose education thing here now with what's called triage method, and I'm just getting like plenty of it's just basically these coaches have put all information they've learned over the years as dietitians, as doctors, or like a group of people, and I'm learning from that as well, like, and do a couple hours a week on that as well. It's important. You need to make sure you're pushing on, because you're going to be left behind, aren't you?
You're not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes with that you're doing on social media, so you can sleep at night. You know when you're talking about staying in your lane, that's one aspect, but you're also not trying to rip anyone off, and you're not pulling the wool over anybody's eyes. So that's probably where your confidence is coming from as well.
You're confident because what you talk about is your own stuff. You're not ripping somebody up. You're not just regurgitating somebody else's. stuff, you know.
Exactly. And I'd be that's actually a good point. You once you know you're doing things. I was say ethically or ethically. Once you know you're doing things right, like you have nothing to worry about as such. You know, just trust the process. And
there's loads out there that are buying fake followers, and
it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Arabic comments, and there's education providers that are doing it. But again, I think the problems will come back to bite them in the arse anyway, or PTs that might be buying some fake followers to make themselves look like they've got a certain presence.
It's stupid because no one really cares. Obviously, right, let's say maybe if a person was going in buying a product and they see, this person has an awful lot of followers, some people would be like, oh, class, but other people would be like, I'm not sure I want to work with someone.
Am I going to get the attention?
I think some people might think like that sometimes. That's why, like, I won't have calls obviously with, let's say, my group coaching clients, because that's obviously you don't. It's a lower ticket, like, you know what I mean. It is a lower ticket, but a lower ticket, but that I put all that information into it, if you get me. So it's not like personal one-to-one, but everyone knows they can contact me whenever they want, and I will always reply. But let's say any one-to-one clients, I will always make sure I have a call with them, because you have to get to know them, because like some people won't have a call with a potential client, and I don't understand how that can work properly. You know what I mean? And if that is working,
there's no.
It's a little bit generic in my opinion, but like that's just maybe I'm wrong.
It has to be generic if they're not meeting with the person.
That happens, and
there has to be accountability there.
Happens an awful lot more. Like I don't know how you can, like, you have to have a consultation call with the person, get to know them, and like talk to them, like, you know what I mean, face to face.
See if you even think you're going to work well together.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I don't want, at the start, yes, I took on absolutely everyone, but there was people who just, you're not always going to get, I'm sure, Johnny, you probably saw this as well, like, you're not always going to get a result with every single person that comes in.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And you have to be open about that, and I don't think people are always open about that, but that's why now, let's say my one-to-ones, I'm like, right, are we clicking? Is this good? Wait, like, some people, it's just not always going to work. Maybe it's down to me, maybe it's down to the personal trainer, down to the client.
We always put it back on the client, though, don't we? If we don't get results, well, you're not following what I've asked you to do. Well, there's no point in us asking to do something you don't want to do.
That's the thing.
You know, what do you like?
That fact. I always ask that, even in regards to exercise selection. Like, I would like, what are the things what do you like doing? What do you hate doing? Because you can do the most optimal thing in the world in regards to nutrition, training.
It's not going to be optimal if you're not doing it.
If you can't stick to it. Do you know? And there's just, there's some people who maybe just, there's more of a deeper thing that's maybe in the head as well, that maybe need to talk to someone more professional too sometimes too, you know what I mean? That might be causing triggers with, if it's a person that's overweight. It's a complex thing, you know what I mean? And it's important to know who you're working with and try to click. But I found once I did be like a little bit more pickier with people I'm working with, it's just an awful lot better. It's clicking so much more, and people, I just know who'll get on well, you know? Like,
it's a serious industry. You know, like there's huge responsibility in that. Like I said, that could be somebody who has a trigger. Anything from the background, from the past that they need to uncover, anything along those lines. But I think the public perception sometimes of the fitness industry can be a misconceived vision of an egotistical social influencer, Marbella style industry, when you peel it back and you fast forward maybe 2 months down the road, and it's the end of October and November and dark nights and people going back into the house, and it's the people that are struggling with weight that will start depression creeping in and stuff like that. Their first port of call when they look in the mirror might be, I need to actually consult either my gym or my local trainer, or I know such and such down the road has a trainer, I might ask, and the confidence levels are zero, and there's a huge responsibility in that. It's not all glitz and glam. You have to be able to take your ego to the side and say, right, the public, that's a middle-aged person, let alone the bloody teenagers, and the fact that the part that mental health plays now and what fitness industry plays in mental health for teenagers. Like, so the responsibilities of the fitness industry are absolutely huge. I think government are starting to see that a little bit now with options that are there. But there's also a balancing act there with so much online crap being spouted out, whether it's an education provider who's fully online, a personal trainer who's buying fake followers or anything like that. I just think we're on a cliff edge, and the fitness industry has a huge role to play in the public domain, and I think people like yourself that actually take it serious and people like you, Johnny.
But it's got to whittle its way down from us, hasn't it? To the guys who are, obviously fully qualified and insured to be giving this advice. But it's got to whittle down, and then it's got to whittle back up again, obviously, with the followers and the people who listen to your advice.
That's the thing. Like, you are the foundation, like, as well. Like, realistically, aren't you?
But if it's not great
if it's
here,
crap at your level, it's going to be crap.
Yeah.
All the way up the ladder, isn't it?
And even when you're saying we're the foundation, we're the foundation. We're not saying we're the foundation because there's other education providers out there.
Of course, yeah.
That I always say that
You do
behind
things very well.
there's other providers out there that do things well. We do things well, and there's other providers out there that behind the scenes they probably have people that are putting their heart and soul into that company. Even if they might be doing things slightly wrong, they mightn't be aware of it yet. So that's why we'd never slate others. But there is others out there that are doing fully online courses where you can do your entire course from your sitting room, including your exams, never set foot in the gym, and then they're calling themselves a PT.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they're not going to get insured. Hopefully, they shouldn't get insured. I mean, I think regulation in the fitness industry, Reps Ireland are starting to do a really good job, and they're trying, but they need education providers to kind of get behind it. But insurance is going to crop up big time now. If you're in the public domain and you are taking on a trainer, ask your trainer, are you insured?
Yeah.
What happens if people start getting into it, especially with the cost of living crisis and all, without being doom and gloom, if people are going to start kind of having to make decisions about whether or not to pay a personal trainer, or which I obviously think is a very good investment because the knock-on effects.
Yeah.
That trainer has to know what they're doing, first of all, but they should be insured.
Yeah.
They're not going to get insured if they've done an online course. And I know there's a few other education providers as well out there that have noticed these online courses creeping in from other countries and stuff like that. But that's what we're competing. I could go on a rant on that all day, but I won't. I won't. How long are we on for now?
Johnny's getting hungry here, so he's mad for his
lasagna sandwiches popping out. Johnny's got your dancing later. Johnny's mad for his... Gar Brooks, talk me through, Johnny's average weekend would be dancing. Gar Brooks this weekend. I think you're contemplating Gar Brooks again, if I'm correct.
I was contemplating Aslan, but it's cancelled this morning. The poor lad's not very well, so that's not going to go ahead. So I don't know. I'll probably just go to my local hunt for a dance. But dance on Saturdays, dance on Wednesdays.
That's the job, Johnny. Keep active.
Happy out though.
Happy out.
Johnny's the only man that can squeeze 25 hours into a day.
Are you still doing PT actually, Johnny?
I've one client, is all I have yet.
Ideal.
He's a lovely young fella.
Yeah.
Yes, years, don't you?
I've had him since he's a baby, yeah.
Stop. Go away.
Yeah.
In person, obviously. Yeah.
I think he's about 14, yeah. He has his, I closed down my gym during COVID, so I trained
you
with
in a gym, had you?
He's got an amazing gym in the back of his house, so I'll go to his house and train.
Class. Ideal.
Yeah.
What's the future plans?
So I suppose so what I've done is my in-person one-to-one, and I've brought numbers down a little bit with that and just kind of focus on more of a smaller circle with that, you know what I mean? Because now I have my group coach as well, because there's only so many fucking people you can care for, I suppose, you know what I mean? So keep my one-to-one the way it is, and then with my group coaching I want to just keep pushing that, and yeah, that's kind of it at the moment, and it's just everything's going well so far, and just want to keep pushing it on, you know.
And how much of your life is it taking over? Or do you have you time, and if you have you time, what does you time consist of?
Yeah, I suppose up until before I went to America, I know you time or me time. I suppose really it was just graph, you know. Yeah. But now, and even in America, obviously I had plenty of time, or whatever. But I was still working a lot, working an awful lot over there, and because I had everything to get up and running. Whereas now I have everything running, and it's more I suppose my Mondays and Tuesdays are busy. I'll have me, let's say I have the check-in spread out between 2 days. Then I might have, let's say it's all replying to people, let's say during the week, checking up on people during the week, a few calls here and there, and then what have I then? I suppose it's content, and social media is massive, it's the part of my day as well. And it's, I suppose, with the Facebook group that I have for the group coaching, I will run weekly challenges as well to keep everyone communicating with each other and just keep a good buzz in the group. So I will be in that in the morning and the evening, Zoom call once a week with the whole group. They can message me whenever they want, so I'm kind of replying to all the messages in as well, with voice notes, things like that. Same with obviously or one-to-ones. They can obviously access me whenever they want. Be checking up on them a couple of times in the week, and social media content, and then me time. I like a pint, I suppose.
Lovely.
Then I'd like a pint. What else?
What would you be
Guinness?
tipping?
What's your
I'm actually cider man now. Cider.
Cider?
Yeah, probably disappointed you there today.
Disappointed, no.
I tell you,
Yeah, that'd be kind of me, I suppose. I do like having
Cider
a
in the summer.
cracker. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I like having a cracker, right? Like, but what else? I suppose I have obviously a girlfriend there, and yeah, that's kind of. I'm very exciting.
Let's
Like,
get along.
huh?
To get along.
3 years now. 3 years
Solid.
more. That's
Yes.
yeah. Yeah. Then I think. Oh, sorry. I think we're actually possibly going to Australia. So
You forgot that, baby.
that might be happening in February. So I just after I came home, I was like, "Fuck, I'm not sure." I'm 22. I'm like, I have the option to keep the business going exactly the way it's going, but just literally be in another country. And I'm like, I might as well fucking take advantage of it because
Absolutely.
I'm at home there. I'm actually living at home still, like because like there's no real point moving out. Like I just don't see the point in it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, fuck it, I'm a bit bored nearly.
It's
Like
working. Stuff is working right now.
yeah. So I'm thinking that's in the works. That's in the works of going to Australia maybe February time possibly. So we have a bit of work doing that. We see.
Gang years or just the 2 years?
Actually, myself and Sinead, and then I think Sean could be going as well. Actually, Sean could be going, or Sean is going. Actually, I think maybe more at the start of the year. I think, and then I know a few lads out there then as well. So give it a go, see how it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and sure, come back home.
That's it. And you're talking like a year or indefinitely, see how it goes?
Talking a year and see how it goes from there. See how it goes. We might be back sooner. I actually don't know, but I'd say we'd probably definitely give it a year if we are 100% going. I think you need to give it a bit of time in it. You know,
a few lads over there as well that have done the course, gone over, and are working over there. So
stop.
Need anything cups?
Deadly. Yeah, no, I think
everywhere. So
yeah, deadly. Like I think when you're online, you might as well make the most of it. But I think it's important at the same time, just because you're in another country, I suppose you can't treat it like a holiday either. But I think that's an easy thing to do to an extent. I suppose, like you have to make sure you do keep the same level up. I suppose that's important. You know what I mean?
I think well, you said in the States it could have been easily to slip into it, but yeah, you got a bit of balance there. So
yeah, no, I had the balance, had the crack, and I just it kept the standard up, and I think
fairly grounded. I wouldn't say that'd be a problem.
Yeah,
for you.
I think you nailed that part of it. The Australia thing, it's lost. I had something to say there, but I've completely lost it.
Probably the accent changing now.
I've got accent.
Could I mind? Could I get fat over that?
I know.
yeah. 2 characters
You
now.
love to do 2 characters. Yeah, a little hot on the corks.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
London, me.
A few alligators and stuff.
Yeah.
No, but it's mad to think that, I don't know, I'm showing my age now, but back in the day, if we were going to Australia, you'd be going off and you'd be thinking, right, I'll get a job on a fruit farm. Now you go fruit picking and a lot of people would be like, I'll do a few. It's mad now though, when you've got something structured and set up for yourself. You're going over to Australia and it's so much more low risk for you because of what you've already done and the graft and what you've put in. So
that's what
I think you'll nail it,
yeah. That's one thing I was just happy about. Like, and when I was on the podcast, Ian, I was just talking about that. He was just like, Ian is obviously there now at the moment. He's actually in the social circles. Ian McNamara, actually, we were chatting about him. He's in the social circle, like, and he was just chatting to me about like, what was it like? Is it all glamour? Like, because you have maybe a big following. Like, it's not like, you know, like to get to there is fucking. It's intense, but it's an awful lot quicker than it was years ago, and I learned all that from Sean. Like, you know, it can be an awful lot quicker. Obviously, if you're doing the right things, it can be an awful lot quicker. But yeah, it is a graph to get up to there. You know what I mean?
You're saying 5 videos a day.
Yeah, it's intense. You have headaches going up the back of your head, your neck, and
editing,
everything.
editing skills.
Yeah, thinking of ideas is probably the hardest part, but thinking to make them good as well was probably tough. Like if I'm driving along, or if I'm at home in bed at night, and an idea comes to my head, I'll write it down. And even so night you'd be asleep. It was worse back in like January, February when it was just like my brain was melted, and I'd be just going to sleep. And I'm like, fuck, my head is bouncing, and that's where I get the best ideas. And I make sure I write it down because it's gone. You won't think about it again.
Yeah.
Sometimes I write down the whole detail of the exact idea that I had because it'll go. Do you know what I mean? So my notes are absolutely drawn there, like, do you know what I mean, with different ideas. But yeah, that's the crack with it now. That's the whole social media and life.
Well, sure. We're going to start wrapping up anyway. But it sounds like you're nailing it. You're humble. You're nice. You've put the graft in. You're saying you're still at home at the moment, so you obviously have good surroundings there and good people around you. So like, I just wish you the absolute best of luck. And I know you're going over and you're in touch with people over there and people who've already done the courses. you're part of the family. Like, pick up the phone, whatever you need, whenever you need it. Like, and
Thanks a million.
so there's Johnny, Aaron, Adam, everyone. Like, that's what we're here for.
Appreciate that big time. And like as I said, I wouldn't we wouldn't be in contact. Like realistically, if it wasn't, if ever there was a good, like, and that's the reality of it, you know. So that's just, I suppose there's no need even to say that I recommend the course, whatever, because I would be here. Like, do you know what I mean? You know that crack, anyway. You know yourself.
You know, it means a lot to us in the world of reviews. Do you know what I mean? It means a lot. But I think before we log off, Wardy, can you throw that video on just one more time?
Go ahead, the fuck.
If anybody's only clicking on last minute, there he is.
Brilliant.
Is this visible for other people?
On the podcast, it's got to pop up, yeah.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, like a Joe Rogan.
Wait, what way are you doing? Oh, it's going to be on Spotify and you can see the screen.
We'll mix it up everywhere and we'll do little clips on YouTube and everything like that. So, yeah.
That's just class. But you might even put our own sound effects on it.
Yeah.
There
was actually, I'll actually get everybody there. It was like funny. It was a video. People put in a song.
To it?
A song to it. What was it again? 1 second now, 2 seconds.
I think when we're actually doing it, we put an arrow, so we just have that clip frozen, right? We have an arrow going. We had this guy on the podcast.
This is it.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh no, sorry. Fuck it. Sorry, no. Oh no, I don't know that. It's gone alright, but yeah, it's all it is fucking me talking to myself and I'm sorry. Alright, no, it's gone. I don't know where
It's
it's
fine.
When you find it, send it to her.
It's funny now, but sure, it's laughing.
I think just even the one line away from, I was coming in and the line of jockeys fucking Ruby Walsh was like, oh, holy Jesus.
Yeah.
He took it well though, fair play.
Yeah, sure, look it.
No, but listen,
And that lucky fella was allowed to drink water as well.
Yeah.
he was because he was probably going, what's the average speed?
He probably pissed himself.
Yeah, but he could imagine he could have came off after hitting you. He's drinking water probably because he's
fact.
It could have been a hell of a lot worse than
absolutely.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
So
thankfully.
But no, Evan, honest to God, like, I thoroughly enjoyed that. You're an absolute gem, the very best of luck in everything you do. I've no doubt you will be a success because you're humble, you're nice, you're driven, and you actually give a shit about other people. So you're going to nail it no matter what you do. Just stay in touch, come back in. Very best of luck.
Thanks a million, lads. Thanks very much. Appreciate it big time. Thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you.